Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel, and in today's video we're gonna be talking about how to draw if things are getting tough in your personal life. Obviously, I've been inspired to talk about those things during the current world events, by which I mean, oh my god, very crazy things are happening currently. A lot of people, everybody is affected. I don't even know where things are going currently, what's gonna happen, how it's gonna play out. But one thing that we can agree on is that it is difficult times currently. And that's why I got inspired to talk about this. However, it applies to a lot of other moments in your life. Sometimes crazy world pandemic is happening, but sometimes you might just be going through some difficult personal stuff. You might be having a depression, or for example, you're struggling with something else. Basically, when real life gets tough, how do you draw? These things that are happening, they distract you from drawing. They make drawing hard for you or make you not inspired anymore. How to deal with this, how to even use drawing to help you out with situations such as this. I'm talking from certain experience of my own. There were several occasions where I draw my entire life, right? So if something happens in my life, it will directly affect my drawing and I will immediately notice it because I draw all the time. I draw throughout all my life, and there was a situation where drawing was hand in hand, going along or not going along at all with personal situations in my life. I will just quickly mention three of them. One and two, they kind of go together. One time, my art was really affected when I was back in Russia and I realized that I will be going to Canada, which was amazing news. But bad news about this was that I had a horse named Debrinia, and I couldn't obviously take him with me to Canada, and I felt really sad. I gifted him to my riding school and so they can train him and use him as their own horse. To me it was very difficult because it was my animal and I really connected with this horse. It was very important for me, and overall horses is my passion. I love horses. I loved horses all my life, and this was my first horse that I own, and at this point it's just my only horse that I ever owned. So to me, losing him in this sense was very difficult, and in that case art helped me to cope. I drew this picture that I'm gonna show you over here, and I was literally crying throughout the whole process of drawing it. This is how I felt. And another situation happened is some of you might know who following my comic that my comic was on hiatus for around 2 years, a little over than 2 years, and it happened because I had a complete shit show, all caps, happening in my life on all aspects. And there was in my personal life, in my living situation, with my friend group, everywhere. And I think even back then I even get laid off from work. Like sometimes when I look back at the situation, it's just so terrible. It messed up with my mental state a lot. So I stopped drawing at all while that situation was happening. I eventually dealt with the situation. I was still very affected. I was having a lot of anxiety. I was having panic attacks afterwards. I was going through a depressive state, and there was a moment when I actually thought that maybe drawing is not what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. And thinking about it now, that was a very serious alarm clock about how problematic and bad stuff were if I was thinking this. Obviously I was drawing since I was 2 or 3, and yeah, it's definitely my thing. Like every time I was thinking about drawing, I just didn't feel anything. I didn't want to waste time doing this. It felt wasting time for me back then. And I actually, at this point, I sold my computer, and I only had a very old laptop that was not for drawing at all, and I actually didn't have a means to draw at all for 2 years. It was crazy. I'm gonna tell you from this experience. First of all, I hope this intro was not too long. I just wanted to let you know where I'm coming from with the situation. I just gonna give you some tips that were helpful for me to get back to drawing or use drawing for my own benefit where things get difficult in your personal life, or even how it is now on a global world scale. Gosh. One thing that I wanted to tell you, if you don't feel like drawing, you don't have to. Basically, if you're going through hard times, you don't have to push yourself to do anything. Obviously, there is definitely a benefit to actually start doing things to get yourself out there, but also you don't have to. So the first tip will be a little bit counterintuitive to the title of this video, but if things are difficult, let yourself just deal with those things, survive day to day. You don't have to force yourself to draw. You don't have to force yourself to do things like this. You just have to be perfectly fine with allowing yourself to take a break, a major break from everything. It's a temporary solution, but allow yourself this moment of I don't care. Another thing, during this time you might have difficulties drawing because things that are happening now are not matching project that you were working on. For example, if you're working on some happy story and you're literally going through grief, you can tell how those things cannot be matching. Maybe every time you go and open your happy story, you feel just angry, you don't like this, you are just absolutely off, this is not the vibe at this point. Or for example, something that happened to you changed your perspective on life drastically so that your story or whatever art you're currently creating doesn't really match tonally the new perspective that you currently have. If this is the case, you might want to consider changing the subject that you're currently working on. Realize that maybe this project is no longer the right project for you, or just start a completely different project. What helped me when I was going through those moments, especially when I did a 2-year hiatus with my comic, I actually drew 2 pieces of art. Again, it was alarming what I drew, but basically I just drew 2 pieces of art, 2 portraits of women who are crying. I like those works. To me, it was healthy to draw them when I didn't know what I want possibly draw. Like, I didn't know what would I ever want to draw. The only thing that came to mind is just drawing sadness. That actually helped me, and it's just made me feel like my feelings are fine. They're finally matching what I'm working. I didn't feel like I'm ignoring myself and a big part of what I was going through while I was doing my art. I felt like I'm actually giving it attention that it needs, and I'm allowing myself to process that. So that actually helped me. So maybe that will help you if you're going through something difficult. Maybe expressing this difficulty in your art will help you. What I can tell, my story actually got a little changed after I went through this 2-year period. Obviously it had challenges for my characters, but I understood the depth of the challenges mentally my characters will be going through as I was going through this process. And when I got back to my comic eventually, I actually changed quite a bit of the story with the new understanding that I had about life and what would interest me overall. Another thing that I might suggest you do is try different type of art or different type of creative activity. For example, when you're going through the hard times, going to your original medium is not really an option at this point. Like, you have some sort of resentment while trying to work with it again, or you just don't feel like it. You might still express your creativity through other means. That's gonna sound really shallow what I did, but it did help me. I didn't want to draw, but I still wanted this creative process of me working with aesthetics, with something beautiful. And I know it's gonna sound shallow, but I actually started completely changing my wardrobe. I started wearing a lot of dresses. I was kind of like a tomboy before. I started wearing dresses, I started dressing up, I started wearing nice bags, I started, experimented with my style, I started doing lash extension, I started straightening my hair, all of those things. They sound shallow, but they were actually very helpful for me. It actually was oddly very therapeutic fact, kind of giving myself some sort of attention and working on myself as if I were a canvas. So I was trying to improve and make better looking myself rather than just a Photoshop file. So that was kind of similar process. I was starting experimenting with makeup and doing all the different things. That can be one of the outlet. I'm not saying necessarily just have a wardrobe makeover. I'm just saying try to look how to express your creativity in different ways. The other thing that I started doing back then is doing a lot of decor in my own space. I started buying flowers for my coffee table. I started buying like nice elements of decor everywhere, nice cups, nice rugs, all of these tiny things, and I never really was too into that things, and I literally started to be interested in decorating back then. Try to express your creativity differently, because usually when you have some problems in personal life, you have this urge to give your attention to real life, while art is you're giving attention to inner stuff within yourself. And when you are trying to connect with this, you have, like, for example, how it was for me, it's like I had this urgency. It's like your real life is suffering, girl. You really gotta put attention. It's like the house is on fire. You gotta pay attention to this. You gotta pay attention to mental health. You gotta pay attention to this actual problem, not about fantasy worlds or whatever. This is one of the ways to integrate creativity and art with real life and real world. Another advice that I have is more to do with how to get back to drawing again, or when you came out on the other side of difficult times, how to get back to drawing. And I'm gonna tell you how I personally get back to drawing my own comic. there's two things that really helped me. First, I got myself a new computer. I got myself a very good tool that would help me feeling happy just sitting in front of this computer. For example, if you're a painter, buy yourself a really nice brushes. If you are, work with pencil, buy really nice pencil, really nice quality paper, really nice tools that you can use. Another thing would help me exactly go back to my story was not actually getting directly to comic pages and started drawing them. I actually did this interesting exercise that I think I'm gonna do a separate video about, because I think it really helps when you're stuck with your characters, with a lot of different types of being stuck. So basically, I just picked a character from my story and I started drawing her timeline. I started just allowed myself not to follow any sort of perfection, didn't allow myself to even follow the style that was my normal style, which is like color for comics. I started drawing lines. This is kind of the same advice that I was giving before. Try to do something a little different. So that's kind of what I was doing. I tried to do lines that are very fast to create, and I started just drawing this character line and just going through I allowed myself to go through highlights of this character's story, and it helped me to remind my story back to myself and get excited about my story again, and get excited with potential about my story. See the overview of how story can play out. Those things are very spoilery that I'm gonna show you if you figure out what's happening there, but it's a spoilery YouTube channel if you're watching my comic. Spoilers alert all the way. So I'm gonna show some of them here. That really helped me to get back into my story. Guys, I hope you're all staying safe in the situation that is currently happening around the world. I have mixed feelings about the situation myself. Obviously, it's very serious and very sad what is happening, but also oddly, I see enormous amount of amazing potential that can happen, like people coming together, somehow helping environment. I don't know, I have mixed feelings. I feel that something good gonna come out of this, but it is indeed difficult times, and I hope you all guys doing safe, and I hope your loved ones are safe, and I hope my video can help you through difficult times a little bit. I wish you guys all the best, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.